Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Fortin with Michigan Matters, and we have got a special guest here today. Um, excuse me, I'm sorry. We have a candidate, a great candidate for U.S. House in Michigan, District 1, Justin Michael. And I find this race very interesting because speaking as a Republican and a Republican voter in Michigan, our, as a group, our Republican House members in the U.S. House has a lot to be desired. I mean, the voting records of the majority of them are not so good at all. So I'm really excited about having a great candidate running against an incumbent in this October 4th election. The primaries are critical. We have to start voting in the primary. Ladies and gentlemen, you wait till the November election and you're allowing someone else to choose who is going to be the Republican candidate in your area. You should have a voice in that, and it's critical. This is our opportunity. We know we're going to support Republicans in November, but wouldn't you like to support some Republicans that will actually represent you? So anyway, I'd like to introduce you to Justin Michael, a great candidate in District 1. Hello, Justin. Welcome. Thank you for being here with us today. I appreciate it. And I'd just like to start off by asking you, how did you decide to get into this public racing? I'm trying to think of a cute comment, but I'm not that good at it. But why would you throw yourself into this mess?
Well, Mark, first and foremost, I want to thank you guys for allowing me to be on the show. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to not only your followers, but also our constituents here in Michigan's 1st Congressional District. One of the reasons that I got into running for this race is because I felt that people's voices weren't heard. In my small community of Grayling, I looked around and I saw people that were struggling, and they felt that they weren't being represented in a sense that they'd never seen their congressman, never heard from him. He'd never held any town halls. Every time they tried to reach out to the office, they couldn't get in touch with him. And as years passed by, he's represented us here in Michigan's 1st District for 10 years. People just feel that the congressional office is disconnected from them. And I looked around and waited for someone to step up and make the pledge to do something different, and no one did. So I took it upon myself to make that pledge and stepped into the realm of politics for the first time ever.
Thank you. I'm really grateful for that because it seems like so many of our representation. Look at the U.S. Senate. I mean, you're not running for U.S. Senate, but look at the U.S. Senate. 83% of Americans want that bill passed, and they won't do it. How can we call it a representative body? It just seems as though most of our elected officials at all levels of government have very little concern in actually representing anybody. And you kind of just brought that out.
Yeah, so one of the concerns that we have in all politics is the money that drives politics as a whole. And when you're looking at what's going on, when money is influencing the decisions of legislators, we have a problem. And in our district, it's especially clear in the sense that there isn't a lot of affluency that comes out of our district. Out of our 36 counties, maybe 5 of them are considered affluent. The rest are pretty oppressed or struggling to make ends meet. So it's difficult to raise money within our district, especially if you're a grassroots candidate. And the establishment knows that if they put money behind a candidate, 9 times out of 10, 99% of the time, most likely, they're going to win the election. And we're in a situation right now where money is driving policy is impacting the worker. People don't feel like they're heard. They don't feel like they can go against what they call the machine. And that's a problem. The establishment has become a machine, and the people who are paying for those campaigns run that machine. And unfortunately, that's not the people who are being represented by the individuals who are currently in representation in Congress.
Yes, I know. And I think that's especially true in the 1st Congressional District. I mean, I love the upper, I love northern Michigan, but you go into all these small towns today. I mean, it's not like it used to be. I mean, so many of these small towns are sitting with empty stores and empty this and empty that. I saw a video just recently about Calumet, and they have a building there they're trying to restore, historical building, and what the city is going through and stuff. Calumet's a fantastic place, and the Keweenaw Peninsula is fantastic. And
Yeah, I was just actually in the Keweenaw Peninsula yesterday. I'm doing a 36 county, 36-day tour, and we were in Keweenaw, and it's a beautiful place. A lot of ecotourism, a lot of mountain biking, a lot of sightseeing, a lot of hiking, a lot of camping in the summertime, obviously skiing in the winter, but the industry it's struggling. And
it
without
is.
ecotourism, it's a dead area. And mining's obviously changed a lot. I drove through Calumet. It's a great city, got a great barber. If you ever need a haircut, downtown Calumet's got a great
Well,
barber. But
I need
um,
someone that can do something with my bangs.
just on the
Uh,
side, right? Um, but you're in one of these situations where these communities are struggling and opportunities are dwindling. I had a conversation up in the Keweenaw yesterday at a town hall, and we discussed that. How do you bring jobs to regions like this? And I think a lot of the reasons that Michigan struggles as a whole is the state legislators are struggling. There's a lot of bureaucracy that happens in the state of Michigan. And there's also a lot of bureaucracy that happens at the federal level too. Again, when corporations are funding campaigns, lawmakers write legislation that benefits the people who are paying for the campaigns and not the small business owners. And in our district, especially in the UP, legislation is killing the opportunity for people to come here and invest. Michigan as a state makes it very difficult to open any small business. And the cost and the headaches that people have to go through just to try to start, it's almost oppressive if you really want to
it is
label it as a word.
very much
and
so.
and unfortunately, most of our counties have become depressed as a part of that, and people don't want to come here and invest money. The only people that are moving into our district right now are people who are retired, and that's not helping the service industry that we have. And there's great needs, but at the same time, it's rising the cost of living for people. They can't afford homes. You can't find the jobs that are sustainable enough to even have enough money at the end of the day to save to put a down payment on a home. So the people who are working in these communities are having to move further and further and further away because they can't afford it. Drive times are much longer. Fuel prices are much more expensive. And for them, it just compounds, and it puts people in a position where they have to choose whether or not they want to stay and raise a family in northern Michigan, or if they have to leave to go somewhere else. And most of them are choosing to leave. So one of our greatest exports of northern Michigan is youthful talent, and that can't continue. It's not sustainable long term, and it can't continue. We have a lot of hospitals that are closing some of their OBGYN care because the birth rates are down in areas. And you're looking at that from a factor, asking yourself, why is this the case? And it's just because people can't afford to stay, or they don't want to stay because there aren't opportunities. And we've got to do a much better job at finding ways to make it easier to conduct business operations in our small towns. We need to rebuild our small towns, and we can do that through legislation, or we can do that by analyzing predatory legislation that hinders their ability to be successful in the region. And that's something, a lot of times you get lawmakers that go to Washington, they want to keep writing legislation all the time. But why don't we take a little bit of time as legislators to go back through the laws we wrote and say, hey, is this helping or hurting? Was this a temporary fix to a permanent problem? Or, was this a Band-Aid, or does this help people that it shouldn't help anymore? We need to go back through and make sure that our legislative agenda fits our American core values and helps the American worker and the American people.
Amen. A lot could be done to correct things if we just had the will to do it. The more we return to what America is about, the better off it'd be for everybody. And for instance, like if I could ask you a question about one policy, how you feel about it. Recently, there was a vote in Washington. Our local representative, John James, who's now running for governor, voted to allow, or mandate, I should say, shut-off switches on cars. Now, these automobiles today are an arm and a leg. I'm totally out of the market now. I'm on a fixed income. There's no way I'm going to get a brand new car. But if I could, and those who can't afford it, they don't own the car. The government owns the car. The government has inflated the price of automobiles by mandating this and mandating that. And the companies don't really fight it anymore. When I was a kid and they put seatbelts in cars for the first time, Ford Motor Company fought it, right? Because it was mandated. And they fought it and fought it and fought it, and they lost. I remember specifically at the time, they said that it would cost an extra $10 per car to put in seatbelts, and Ford fought it. But when they finally lost, they raised the price of the car $20, right, for the $10 seatbelt. So they were trained by the government that, hey, we can make a lot of money on mandates. So at the time, you could buy a new car for $3,500, and now they're $60,000 with all nothing but mandates and mandates and mandates. And now they're actually taking control of the automobile that you bought. I mean, I've never heard of such a terrible, without thinking of what they call it, unintended consequences of having AI turn off your car because its algorithms perceive that you have an issue. There's all kinds of reasons for a person to have an issue, but that's just one kind of thing I'm bringing up. Is the government don't seem to care. They want their name on a bill, and they don't give a dang what's good for people or what's not. It's what's good for them. Like you said, the big money, where's it coming from? And that type of thing.
With something like this, I think you need to take into consideration the players that are involved. You're looking at insurance companies, right? They want there to be some form of accountability for the driver, and if they can eliminate the insurance claims that come from people either being too tired to drive or intoxicated or going through issues or not paying attention, perhaps looking at their cell phone when they're driving, it gives them an opportunity to get away from some of the responsibilities that they have financially. Then you look at the regulations and who can make money from those factors. It's another way to increase the production of data centers and companies, because we have to produce or conserve more data that's going to be used. It's another avenue of approach or another revenue source for those companies who will be taking the data, like Cisco or another company that's out there collecting. So you're in a situation where you understand why they're pushing legislation, because again it becomes a market, and that market is going to drive an industry, and that industry is going to circulate a lot of money. But then, is it constitutional? Is it something that people want? And they're going to say regulations are always implemented for the safety and well-being of the American citizen, right? But at the same time, it's another barrier of entry to stop people from being able to manufacture or produce cars. And so you look at it, it's another legislative measure to make sure that other automobile industries struggle to get into the market. And I understand that our automotive industry is billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars a year. But the reality of the situation is this: people are being priced out of being able to purchase new cars. Excuse me. They're being subjected to these lease options versus buying options because they just can't afford to pay $100,000 for a vehicle that's brand new, or $70,000 or $60,000, like you said. So, there's a perspective or position where you're looking at legislation and wondering if it's predatory, if it's about control. It starts with being able to shut your car off, then it's going to spiral or grow into something else. And I think that's a significant concern or hindrance. And frankly, I think it will be or should be challenged. What happens if you're trying to get to work and you look tired on your face and you just can't drive your car because it senses that you're a little bit tired, or you yawn when you're driving and boom, your car shuts off on the side of the road, and you have to, acknowledge there's just things that will happen. Eventually it will become too invasive for your privacy. And then what?
I have a friend that bought a new truck, or leased it, I'm not sure which. But anyway, very loving it, very proud. It's a beautiful truck, loaded up with all the goodies. And he's telling me how he can get on I-75 and just let go of everything and sit back and it'll drive. And I'm thinking to myself, it's just loving it, right? People are just falling in love with technology, but cars break. That's why we have repair shops. Things break, and we're going to sit at 75 or 70 miles an hour on the freeway, just enjoying the fact you can read a book. All of a sudden, a deer comes out. Is it going to work? People act as though nothing ever breaks. It's incredible to me, the thinking.
It's interesting to me because they're like, oh, it's autonomous driving, but you have to give away your autonomy to let it drive. So it's almost hypocritical in some sense. We work really hard, and they've made it very stringent and difficult for people to be able to drive. Just the process alone for young kids to get on the road and get into driving, they've made it almost unaffordable if you're a 16-year-old kid, between insurances and the cost of cars and stuff, and the cost of driver's training for these kids. I mean, this used to be like a something we dreamed of. We rode our bikes, and then we couldn't wait for the time we were old enough to be like, I can't wait to drive a car. It was freedom, right? It gave you this
Right.
opportunity to feel the road. And it almost seems like they're stripping away the fun of that, because you used to be able to work a job, even if it was a paper route, and save up enough money to be able to buy your first car, and you
That's
could
right.
pay for your insurance, and you could pay for a gas. I mean, when I started driving, it was 99 cents a gallon. I'm sure when you started driving, it was much cheaper than that.
Yep.
So, when we were in a situation, but I mean, I think my first car was $1,000, and it was awesome. It's just, you just learned how to drive, and you knew that it wasn't going to be your forever car, but it was going to get you
Mhm.
around, and
That's right.
it gave you that sense of freedom. And now kids don't either want that, or they can't obtain it, and that's a concern. I had a girl call me the other day. Unfortunately, her mom passed away this year. It was really tragic. She's young. I met her at a Republican event, and I said, I know it's your birthday coming up. Are you going to be starting driver's training? And she said, I don't know if I can afford it. It's been pretty tough. And I said, listen, you reach out to me, you have your dad reach out to me, and when it's time, we'll make sure that you get driver's training. But then you also think, if you can't afford to get through driver's training, how is she ever going to afford to be able to get a car? And in our district, where your school could be 40, 50 miles away, depending on where you live, having that
Hmm.
freedom to be able to drive to and from school is something that's imperative. It's just part of your life. It's normal to drive 30 miles to the grocery store, or 50 miles to a basketball game. So when you're thinking about those things, especially for young kids, you want it to be obtainable. The economy obviously isn't helping, but when you're adding these regulations, it just rises the cost of cars. And eventually it'll be a subscription where you have to pay to be able to start your car. It's same thing with what BMW did. It's like, oh, if you want power windows, like, here's a subscription. If you want your seat heater to work, it's a subscription. You have to pay for all these add-ons every month. And I get it. People want convenience, and they want to give up their autonomy to let their cars drive, because maybe they're lazy, or they like technology, or they want to be focused on other things like watching reels when they drive. But the reality of the situation is driving has always been a form of our freedom, just like riding a motorcycle. And I
That's
don't
right.
think that we should be so eager to give that autonomy and that freedom away.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm a little older than you, and which also, see, this is where conspiracy theories come from, because you see all kinds of things going on, and you start adding up things, and some are facts, maybe most are facts, whatever.
I don't have
And-
tinfoil in my hat, by the way. I just want you to know
okay,
that.
good. If I had a hat on, it might have tinfoil in it, to be honest. Okay, I got to be honest. But anyway, but you see all this stuff, and I can't help but wonder how much of this mess is by design. I'm sorry, but why they don't want people in this area, Southeast Michigan? We have buses everywhere with nobody in them, but we all have to pay on our property tax for these dang buses. It's as if they don't want us in cars. They don't want us living in rural areas. They're drying up the communities. It's like there's a goal, and
Well, at some point, think about it. My truck registration, I think, was $310 or something for the year, just to be able to have the plates to drive it on there. My insurance costs for Michigan rose double in the last 3 years. I have two vehicles. It's ridiculous how much you're paying. But if you put your vehicles in your property insurance, even though if you bundle them together, it's still super expensive. So you're looking at the cost factors. People just can't afford it. You think about all the additional costs that we have today just to maintain a normal life. We have internet, we have cable, we have our streaming services, we have all of our subscription based stuff that we have on our phones, or we have our cell phone bills, we have our insurance. It's just all these things are compounded. Health mandatory by ACA. So there's all these things that we have to take it that hinders your ability to save money to be able to live your life the way that you want
in
to live it.
all those things are taxed too.
They're all taxed, every bit
Everything's
of it.
taxed.
And then some of those things that you buy, you pay tax when you buy it, and you have to pay tax when you sell it. Or someone else has to pay tax on it again and again and again and again. And it's just, we get to a point where we're how far away from our principles, which was, when people say we were a free country, that meant we were a tax free nation. Wasn't free to do whatever you wanted. It was free to free of taxation, and now it's everything's taxed. And the municipalities have no incentive to reduce taxes. The federal government has no incentive to
No.
reduce taxes, and it just seems like it's a continuous or perpetual cycle of taxation. No matter what it is, you're taxed. I mean, Michigan, we don't have food tax, but we have a sales tax, and we have our property taxes. You get taxed on using your cell phone. You get taxed on your electrical usage. Everything's taxed. So you can't sneeze in my county, I don't think, without, well, be it tax some way. You got the sneeze tax that you have. So, and that's not true. You don't have a sneeze tax. So anybody listening that says we don't have a sneeze tax, but I mean, you feel that way. And every time you take $1 away for tax, it's $1 out of your pocket that you can't use for something else. So we've got to do better. We've got to take a look at our tax code. We got to look at how we conduct business at the federal level. We have to make sure we hold the right people accountable for paying taxes, but at the same time, we can't abuse the tax system and use it for our personal checking account. And right now, spending's out of control in Washington, D.C., and it's driving the fact that people are looking at other and more meaningful ways to tax.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying, why don't we just stop spending?
That's right.
No one has a plan to stop the spending. No one.
That's right.
The Republicans or Democrats, doesn't matter who you are. Everybody's addicted to spending money. I believe personally, if they taxed you 100%, that they spend 110%.
That's right.
That's right. Someone made a post today about the fires that are going on in Canada. The smoke's everywhere. And I was like, it's just an honest question. It was a question to open up dialogue. And so I said, what's the reason that we can't have diesel vehicles and drive them around because you're worried about climate change, but yet when there's a forest fire, no one says anything. It's just a question. Right. It's just someone said in the comments, and why I bring it up, they said because forest fires can't be taxed. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you know what? That's probably true. If you could tax the forest, we probably would have a tree tax for sure.
Yep. So I want to really thank you for being with us today. And I can't tell you how much these are the kind of conversations I think that really help a voter get to really know the person. And I think that this is really great. And would you like to end by a couple of minutes talking about your campaign? Or?
Yeah, sure. Real quick. I just want people to know that I'm an everyday person that cares about people. My whole campaign has been about people. It isn't about me. I'm out there every day putting in the work. We put over 512 days consecutively, no days off, 18-hour days, being in the district. We go to every town, every village, every city, every community, every township in our district. We meet with people because we care. We're not out there trying to sell them on some fake ploy of what the world could be or some utopia or promise them a bunch of free stuff. What we're saying is we're willing to have conversations and dialogue with anybody who wants to come and contribute, as long as they're respectful. And we're doing that because we're trying to push forward a representative-based agenda. And that means that people hopefully will elect me on August 4th to be their representation, so we can all work together in our community to drive the agenda from our district and not from Washington down. And I think that's something that's really important. People are very smart in our district. We have wonderful and talented people here. Let's utilize those people to try to come up with solutions to fix this country. It's not just about left or right. It's about what's right and what's wrong. And we can focus on doing those things together if we have the dialogue and discussion that's required to do that. And I'm willing to do it. I don't care what side of the aisle you come from. If you have solutions to some of our problems, and they're big problems, let's get them down on paper and let's find a way to go forward with that. And that doesn't necessarily mean through legislation. It might just be through acknowledgement. And I think people are ready for that. People are exhausted from the political games that are being played. They're exhausted from Washington, D.C. not doing anything. It's time for change. And that's the reality. And that's what we put out there every day. We care about people. It doesn't matter if I have a Republican on my t-shirt or not. I'm still an American first and foremost. And that means I care about my neighbors and I want them to be prosperous and I want them to be successful and I want them to live a good life. And that's what we're going to work towards. We're going to promise our constituents that we will be present, that we will listen, that your voice will be heard, and that we're going to go to Washington, D.C. with a fire under our butt to make sure that we get things accomplished. Whatever it takes, the status quo has to change, and we're willing to do that.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it. And if you look at our website, it even says that our goal, the whole reason for our existence, is trying to restore representative government to Michigan at all levels of government. And I think that you definitely are on track to try to do that. And I thank you very much for being with us today, and hope to see you soon. And we'll stay in touch, okay?
Hey, Mark, thank you so much for your time. To anybody listening, may God bless you, and may God bless Michigan's 1st Congressional District.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye now. Ladies and gentlemen, uh, please share this. If you're watching it on YouTube, please like and share it. If you can help us in any way, please go to our website, michiganmatters.org, and we will really appreciate. You can sign up for our newsletter there too. But if you can help us in any way, that'd be great. But the biggest help would be to share this for other voters to see it and to like it. Thank you very much for being with us. God bless you. God bless America. And God bless Michigan. Thank you.